On today's show, it is a crossover episode of Real GM Radio and the Double Dribble. I'm Wes Goldberg here with Jared Dubin and Mo Dakhil. Two regulars on the show if you're listening to Real GM Radio. We're doing a crossover episode now and a bunch to get to. We're going to react to the Nuggets win over the Suns. We're going to get in on the Rockets, and then we're going to discuss NBA expansion and some changes to the salary cap. Also, stay tuned until the very end because we have a major announcement that you're not going to want to miss. Jared and Mo are here. You know them already. Let's start with the Nuggets and the Suns. The Nuggets win it on a Nikola Jokic push shot, little pick and roll. Jamal Murray hits him with the pocket pass. Issa Iguodala a little late on the closeout there. Jokic hits the game winner. Devin Booker got a shot at his own game winner. Got a good look at it. Front rims it though, and the Nuggets get the win. It's their first 3-game winning streak since January. It's their first 3-game winning streak with Nikola Jokic in the lineup since mid-December. Interesting little note there. They've beaten the Raptors, Blazers, and now the Suns during this current streak. 7 of their last 9 games are going to be at home. Right now, a game and a half back of the Lakers for the 3 seed, half a game lead on Minnesota for 5th. So they're playing well, guys. They're getting healthier. Peyton Watson's still not in the lineup. And yet, I'm watching that Suns game, and I'm still not feeling confident about the Nuggets. And I thought at this point at the season, I would. So, Mo, we'll start with you. Why am I not more confident in this Denver Nuggets team right now?
Well, one, I think we've all kind of seen that defense isn't what it was when they won the championship, I think a little bit. And I think the slide as of late has kind of a lot of people sort of worried, and crunch time hasn't looked as great. Yesterday was awesome. If you're a Nuggets fan or believer, that was a promising sign of like, okay, there's still stuff here. You know, they were losing these games, over the past month or so. You know, you look at the Laker game, you look at there were so many that I, like, off the top of my head, I can't even really remember, but it was like a span of like 5 games where they lost by like 1 or 2 points. I think that's the starting point. I think the other thing too is just all the injuries have added up over time, and now they're getting everybody back, but it's like too little too late. Like, even though it's plug and play and a lot of these guys have institutional knowledge with what's going on, you also have to be on the floor a bit. And I think the third one, and I'm trying to take all the points so Jared doesn't have anything, is, Cam Johnson hasn't kind of been as plug and play as we all thought he would be when he came in. And I think that's kind of been the other thing, the other underlining story that has been a problem for them. And hopefully Jared has nothing.
I don't have nothing. I think the biggest thing is that we haven't seen Aaron Gordon look like Aaron Gordon yet, because he's only playing limited minutes since he came back. He's only been back for a few games to begin with. So we haven't seen the version of the team that we saw earlier in the season when they were crushing teams and when they were actually playing good defense. We just haven't seen that team since like November or December. So it's hard to feel the same way about them as we did earlier in the year. Like you said, it was good to see them win a game down the stretch in a situation that they had been struggling for the last month or two. I actually feel like they kind of won the game in the second quarter, and it's specifically in the stretch where Jokic was out in the second quarter and they were plus. They won the non-Jokic minutes last night. Jokic was -5. They won by 2. So they won those minutes by 7. I saw John Schumann had a stat earlier today. Jonas Valanciunas has been a DNP in each of the last 3 games. And 2 of those 3 games are 2 of the 3 games this season that the Nuggets have won where Jokic had a negative plus-minus. And they are +12 in 36 minutes with Jokic off the floor in those 3 games. And that is a big, big thing for them. They're going smaller with whether it's Gordon or Spencer Jones, which they did for a while last night against Phoenix. They're going smaller with one of those guys at the 5 when Jokic is off the floor. And it feels like that's going to be their look when Jokic is off the floor in the playoffs, unless they wind up with some team that they think they can get a really good matchup with Valanciunas kind of brutalizing somebody in the post. But to go to your question, Wes, I think the big thing is we just haven't seen Aaron Gordon and to a lesser extent Peyton Watson be themselves or even really back in the lineup yet. So we haven't seen the team that we thought we were going to see all year.
And we should mention Watson didn't play in that in the game against Phoenix. So just to throw that back out there.
It's been a weird kind of stretch for Jokic right? I mean, you don't really see him be a -5 in many games, and yet he's been a negative in 3 of the last 4 games. And yet Denver's won those 3 of the last 4 games. And that's sort of it's like a good and a bad thing. On one hand, if you're a Nuggets fan, you're like, well, why is our best player a negative? Like, should we be concerned? Like the turnover thing, like what's going on? Is he still dealing with some injuries? What's going on? On the plus side is, for our entire lives, we've been dog bleep with Jokic off the court, and all of a sudden now we're able to win games. We're actually, wait, hold on, we're better with Jokic off the court? Nobody obviously think that that's going to be like the sustainable thing here. Like nobody think that that's going to hold, but the idea that now that they can win games, not only the minutes, but win the games with those non-Jokic minutes is, to me at least, interesting. You mentioned the small ball thing there, Jared. It's kind of crazy how small they are, right? When Spencer Jones is at the 5 specifically, they are so light, like in the caboose in those lineups. And to me, it's really interesting to see Jamal Murray work in those, because it's a completely different kind of thing for Jamal Murray to do. Like, it's a real test for him. Murray's obviously used to playing off of those Jokic screens, and for all the things that Jokic does at such a high level, he's almost an underrated screen setter at this point because of how big he is and strong he is. And now it's all of a sudden it's like, all right, now use a Spencer Jones screen, use a Cam Johnson screen instead, and you're like, that's a different kind of screen for this smaller point guard to get around, and yet he's crushing it in those small ball lineups right now. Do we think that this is real, or is this just the Nuggets like trying stuff in this final stretch going into the playoffs, Mo?
No, I think it's real. I think it's more trying to figure out stuff. I also don't know if this small lineup is going to be what the small lineup is going to be when we get to the playoffs. Like,
right.
I just want to be honest. If Spencer Jones is playing heavy minutes in the playoffs for them, like, okay, we have problems, and I think that's something to kind of worry about if you're Denver. I think now it's trying to see what's going on and how that goes. I think Aaron Gordon will probably slot in more into those small lineups, playing the center position and things like that. You'll hopefully have Peyton Watson back and at full force, and he'll probably be in the small lineup with them. It's a mixture of guys there. So I think it's kind of that stuff. But that's also how they won the finals. That's also how they were last year, right? Mm-hmm. They went to the small ball lineup when Jokic went to the bench. And I think there's some of that stuff. The stuff I find more interesting with the Nuggets is really Jokic's struggle since he's come back from the injury. And I guess like post All-Star, just a simple number breakdown, he's shooting 42% from 3 pre All-Star break. And now he's at 30%. Like pre All-Star break, that was automatic. That was literally when it went up, that's going in. And now you're looking at it going like, damn, like it's not really falling for him in the way. And I think that's something too that like the Nuggets need to be a little bit worried about. And, listen, I picked the Nuggets to win the championship on our pod at the start of the year. Like I had them belief in them in a large part, but like a lot of it's kind of slowly been eroded with their recent play and struggles. Jokic is not as amazing as he is. The shooting struggle is still a little something that I worry about. And then just being healthy. And then the fact that other teams in the West have kind of risen up.
It's funny that we talk about Jokic's relative struggles when the guy is dropping like 23, 17, and 17 and hitting the game winning shot.
He almost had a triple-double in the first half, and that's not the first time we've talked about it. He was 1 assist shy of it.
He got it 10 seconds into the second half. I saw Michael Pina said it was like the 7th fastest triple-double ever or something along those lines. So
yeah, I was thinking about like, do we need a stat for early triple-doubles? Because you see a lot of these triple-doubles get like notched in the final couple minutes. I need one more rebound, so you have a star player stays in the game for a little bit longer. Like I want three-quarter triple-doubles. Like how many of those are we getting? And I would just guess off the top of my head, Jokic is probably like the all-time leader in that, or at least the recent leader in that.
I would say it's him or Westbrook, right?
Yeah, it's got to be him or Westbrook. Yeah.
I remember there was a Christmas game between the Knicks and the Thunder where Westbrook had a triple-double in the first half.
Absolutely crazy.
I mean, it's nuts. No, but it's like, but the thing is, with Jokic, he doesn't necessarily get the triple-double in the first half, but you go and you look at it and you're like, oh, he's 2 rebounds shy of a triple-double at halftime.
Yeah, it's a lot of those.
You know what I mean? It's almost just like, it's a lot of times where you're like, oh, he's, last night, 1 assist shy. If Christian Brown made that layup, I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know if he missed the layup, but whatever. Like, it's, you know what I mean? You're like, he would have had a triple-double. Like, it's absurd in that respect. But I do think his shooting struggles from three is a legitimate problem that needs to kind of not. I don't know necessarily there's a way to address it other than just make more of your shots. But like I think that it's something that has to be monitored that we have to keep an eye on.
There's something going on.
And he has been dealing like supposedly with a wrist injury.
Yeah.
Throughout this portion of the season. So that's obviously going to have some effect. I do want to get back to the small ball stuff though, real quickly. Mo, you said that this small ball lineup they're playing is probably not going to be the small ball lineup they see in the playoffs. It's definitely not going to be the small ball. Like, I feel like it's going to be Gordon, Watson, Murray, Hardaway, and Bruce Brown is probably the small ball look with the bench unit. And that's got a lot more positional flexibility and has Gordon setting screens and Bruce Brown setting screens and Hardaway setting screens and more spacing with Hardaway and possibly Watson, given how well he shot throughout the season, and Gordon, given how well he shot the last few seasons. So I feel like it's a little bit better than what you see with Spencer Jones out there.
The defense to me is the big problem with them because I think we all expect Jokic to eventually hopefully just look, if he's shooting 30% from three and he's turning the ball over a bunch and this wrist is clearly bothering him. Like a lot of these turnovers over this recent stretch is him just like losing the ball kind of things, or a lot of bad passes, just stuff where you could tell the hand or the wrist is a problem typically. But defensively, he's been bad all year. Right. And, the Nuggets obviously have been without Aaron Gordon for most of the season, and that's a big part of this. And now they're without Peyton Watson. So they've been basically without one of their two best defenders all year at some point. But I watched that game last night against Phoenix, and, they start with Jokic kind of coming to the level. The Suns just go side pick and roll over and over again in the first quarter and just tear it apart. And then the Nuggets are like, yeah, we're just not going to do that again. They go back to drop with Jokic. And then in the fourth quarter, like, we don't trust our defense enough. We're going to go to hack Iso Iguodala. That's going to be our defensive strategy, which I thought backfired. I thought it slowed the game down way too much. It actually let Phoenix kind of get back into it, I thought. I think that was a big reason why Jokic was a minus in the fourth quarter also, is because that strategy just didn't work. But whatever you think about the game last night, they ultimately got the win. Whatever they're doing defensively this season and then going to Haka in the fourth quarter probably isn't going to work to try to get back to the NBA Finals.
I think for me, part of it is I wonder if Jokic is like in flip the switch mode. Mm-hmm. And part of it might be injuries and things like that and conserving energy and for the offense. But I think part of it too is like when we get to the playoffs, I think he will be more locked in defensively. It hasn't been a good defensive season from Jokic to that degree. But also, again, this is where Aaron Gordon matters. And Aaron Gordon did a great job in terms of keeping the pressure off Jokic defensively, where Jokic's defensive job was a little bit easier too. So he would look even better. But there were also times in the game last night that I thought there was one where he strung out a ball screen with Booker. Booker was trying to screen him out, and it was kind of a double, and it was late in the game. And he did a great job staying with Book, letting them double, and they wanted to get the ball out of his hands, and it worked kind of perfectly. And that's kind of the way they were going. Like, I won't be shocked if we all of a sudden get to the playoffs and all of a sudden we see Jokic like switching and, Duke style, slapping his hands down on the ground and all that stuff. But like, that would be shocking if he ever did that. Let's just be honest. But like I won't be surprised if we see his defensive intensity kind of come up a bit more in the playoffs and meet more of our expectations of what we're used to from him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you on that. But I still think the key is just having Gordon and Watson out there. Like that's the best perimeter defender and the best interior defender, and they just haven't had that all year. And that's why their defense was it 23rd, if I'm remembering correctly?
I just looked it up this morning. They were 21st, but
21st.
That's not good. But I do wonder if part of them is like almost at this sort of Spurs level of we just know what we are in the postseason. We don't really have to worry about it so much in the play. But again, they're experimenting with stuff. They're trying things right now. I guess that's good. But ultimately, before we get off this topic, I mean, I know, Mo, you said you picked Denver to win the championship. I'm not going to ask you to revise that pick here right now, but like we kind of just it's Oklahoma City, it's probably San Antonio, and despite wherever Denver ends up in the standings, because the Western Conference standings are so packed right now, we kind of all are giving the benefit of the doubt. It sounds like, and probably putting them in that. I mean, I guess I don't want to turn this into a Lakers conversation because there's been enough of those, but like third or fourth, I guess, with the Lakers included.
No, it's only a 3-team race. We don't have to go into the Lakers.
Yeah, I would still have Denver third too. Like if you give me a Denver LA series, I'm still taking the Nuggets just because of like the not institutional memory, but the institutional confidence I have in them, which maybe it's just residual from 3 years ago at this point. But I've got that confidence in them just because we've seen them do it before.
Also, Jokic is still freaking amazing. I know I'm the one that brought this up, of his shooting numbers, but everything else is awesome. Like the Lakers don't have an answer for how to defend him in that regard. If we get to a series,
you mean DeAndre Ayton's not the answer? DeAndre Ayton's not the answer.
And a bad job the last time these teams.
Let's go small and put Rui Hachimura on him because that was supposedly the solution in that playoffs.
Rui's hurt too. Rui's hurt, so we'll
see Marcus Smart on Jokic at some point too. JJ Redick Galaxy,
that's fine. That's fine. Like in that regard, I'm not that worried about the Nuggets. I still have them in the top. Now I might have them below San Antonio at this point, and I think I'm higher on San Antonio than most people. But like, I think this is still not going to doubt this team. They still have Jokic. He's still a freak.
Yeah, I was listening to a Nuggets podcast after the game, and they were like, just sort of an underwhelming night for Jokic. I'm like, look at the box score. What do you mean? Like,
but that's
are we at the point of taking this guy for granted? I think we are.
But that's the thing about Jokic is, and I had posted this on all my socials, like he practically had a triple-double at halftime, and it was so casual.
It was effortless.
It was the most casual triple-double, like halftime, 1 assist shy triple-double. We're just like,
I will say this. It's hard to quantify it just with the box score stats with Jokic. Watching him, and maybe it's not. Maybe it's just the turnovers. But it didn't. That last night was the first time where I felt like, oh, this is Jokic, like almost to what I was kind of expecting him to be at. This is a better version than what we've gotten over this recent stretch. And if that's true, we're taking that step in the right direction, then maybe we're finally getting into that gear that we were talking about. I'm with you guys. I have Denver number 3 in my Western Conference power rankings, just, my impromptu casual one here. I'm a little bit higher on the Lakers maybe than you guys are. I put them a little bit closer to Denver, but I'd still pick Denver in a series. Let's take a quick break. And
why are you a little bit higher on the Lakers? What's
the way Luka has played?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to just sit here. I would hesitate to just sit here and be like, they don't have a shot. That's really all it is. Just if Luka is playing this way and LeBron is totally bought in, I think Redick is a good coach for the most part, as long as he doesn't like outthink himself and get too cute with things sometimes. And if they can make some shots, I just don't want to. I don't want to sit here if they have that kind of top end talent and just be like they don't have a shot. I would hesitate to do that.
I will say on the JJ outthinking himself thing, I feel like he's got a great strategy these days of taking his challenge early in the game on kind of a nonsense play.
Get it out of the way.
So that his team of ridiculous complainers can stop complaining the rest of the game. He challenges early and in the first quarter more than any coach I think I've ever seen. And a lot of times it's on such a low value play. And I feel like that has to be the strategy behind it.
Have I ever told you
a good call?
I ever told you my rule if I was with an organization or a coach of a team and the challenge? First off, I hate the challenge. Get rid of it all. I'm always going to say it. Get rid of this whole thing. And even replays. Done with it. Out. Speed the game up. If I challenge something because a player did this to me, if we lose the challenge, they're getting fined.
Internal fine. I like that.
Internal fine. That's just a small little, and not like a $200 fine. We'll have a little thing. We'll put it in a pile, and then we'll give it to the video room or the support staff at the end of the season. But anytime
you got to get it to the challenge guy who got overruled by the star player.
I like the idea of maybe making them doing something embarrassing at the next practice. Like you have to practice in a chicken costume. Like the next one, like you want to make a big show out of yourself. You want to call attention.
They don't practice enough. They don't practice.
Nobody practices anyway.
This time of year, nobody's practicing, and that's not a shot. It's just resting.
Show up at the morning walkthrough in a chicken costume.
I can't remember who it was, but someone was saying that the Pistons had their first practice since like late January, and it's going to be their last practice of the season. And I was like,
Absolutely
yep, that
wild.
tracks for this time of year.
Mo, on the replay challenge part, I'm with you. Get rid of them. I feel like we, just in general, not just like even we as like a media thing, just everybody in the world talks about the NBA like it's the NFL and just assumes, well, the NFL has instant replay and the NFL has a challenge, so the NBA ought to have that too.
It's
Where it does no, I will go to my grave on this. There will never be a championship decided. Like, who wins the championship will never be decided because we had or did not have instant replay or have and had not had challenges. In the NBA, the best team or one of the best teams tends to win the championship. Where in the NFL, I understand why you need instant replay and challenges, because the New Orleans Saints can be eliminated from the playoffs because of a bad ruling on a catch or something like that. Those plays, and because there's so few games and we're dealing with such a smaller sample, those plays actually matter so much more. They have outsized importance in that sport. Where in the NBA, if a ball goes out of bounds in March, who cares? Like, it doesn't mean that a different team is going to win the championship at the end of this thing. Like, just move it along.
Well, it's just like the thing. First off, bold call there on we're never going to have a champion decided by replay, because I promise you, the stupid world that we live in, we are 100% going to get something dumb like that or something in the next 10 years. And especially because you said that. Second, the other thing too is just like, I don't mind end of games. Did the shot count, whatnot? Did they get it in before the shot clock or whatnot? Yeah. But that could be done quick. And in Secaucus, this stuff has to be quicker. And I don't like the coach's challenge because it's just a waste of time. It's just a waste of time. It's even if they're not going to challenge the play, but the whole minute where the coach puts his hand up like, oh, wait, and looks back at the bench to the challenge guy who's like, and then you see him kind of decide to go thumbs down, no, don't do it. And then it's like, okay, that was, a minute we just wasted. Like, it speed the game up. And if we do replays, cap it. Yes. 1 minute. 1 minute.
1 minute or 3 views. And that if it goes over that, you can't change the call.
And I'm going regular speed. No slow-mo.
I'm in.
It's fine. Whatever it takes.
Mo for commissioner. I would kill in this. I'd get fired in a month, but I'd kill that month. That month would be amazing.
I can make a comparison that I don't really want to make right now, but don't do it. All right. Enough complaining about officiating. We're going to complain about the Houston Rockets instead. But first, a quick break. Today's episode of RealGM Radio is brought to you by Prize Picks. Shoot your shot on Prize Picks and get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. That's right. Prize Picks is giving you $50 in lineups when you sign up and play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks makes every dunk, every dime, and every board that much more exciting. It's America's #1 app for sports picks. Prize Picks is simple to play. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if your picks are right, you can cash in. You can choose from basketball, baseball, hockey, soccer, UFC, and more. Plus, they've got features like early payouts and flex play, so you've got options while the games are still happening. I downloaded the app and I was surprised by how easy it was to get started. It took just a couple of minutes to build my first lineup. I've been making NBA lineups around players that I already follow, picking more or less on points and assists, and it honestly makes every possession way more fun to watch. I also love the social feature where you can see what other people are playing and copy lineups with one click. It's a cool way to learn and build better picks, and it's available in all 50 states. So it's easy for just about anyone to jump in. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, we're back. It's Mo Dakhil, Jared Dubin, Wes Goldberg here on a crossover of RealGM Radio and the Double Dribble. I texted you guys what you wanted to talk about today. Both of you came back and said that you had some stuff to get off your chest about the Houston Rockets. By the way, it seems like Ime Udoka has something to get off his chest about the Houston Rockets on a daily basis at this point. Called them soft the other night. Jared, what do you got on the Rockets?
I'm going to let Mo go longer than me because I know he's like infinitely more frustrated than I am. I just hate how they'll get into a rhythm with a certain play call and it'll be working for like a few possessions in a row, and then they just won't go to it for the rest of the game. One of the Laker games last week, they ran the same exact set on like 5 of 7 possessions and scored on all 5 of them, and we didn't see it the rest of the game. And then a game the other night, I Don't know
They
which
did it
game.
Chicago. Chicago.
Chicago. They did it in the fourth quarter in Chicago. They scored on this Durant thing twice, and then just never went to it again.
Yeah, Mo texted me because I wasn't watching that game. He texted me, and I wasn't watching that game, so I didn't get back to him until the morning. I was just like, they're so annoying, dude.
Yeah, no. So like to it's not even that. There was a play in the third quarter that got them back in this game.
In the Chicago
They ran
game.
the Chicago game. They ran like and we should note they lost to Chicago, which is also I got a lot. Wes, like buckle up. Like I got a lot of like grievances here.
I'm gonna light a cigarette.
It's
But
Festivus.
like Festivus, right? This is a piggyback on Jared's thing because Jared brought it up to me, and then I noticed it in the game, and then immediately had to text Jared. But like they ran an action for getting KD on the move off a DHO with Alperen Şengün, and it was a zoom action. I think it was Jabari Smith's, and it was early in the third quarter. They got 6 quick points out of it 3 times. Ran it 3 times in a row, killed. Chicago calls a timeout. Next time down, Houston goes. They ran a variation of it, which is fine. But KD misses the shot. That's it.
That's what I was talking about. It wasn't the fourth quarter. You're right. It was the third quarter. Yeah.
But it was 6 straight points. So you ran it 4 possessions and got 6 points out of it. But because you missed the last time, we're good. We don't need to run that again. And, they're doing a couple other things. They're running a little horn stuff, kind of similar to the way the Nuggets operate with Şengün at the elbow instead of Jokic and getting some good stuff out of it.
That was the play that kept working against the Lakers.
But then they just go away from it. And it's like, this is Ime Udoka wants to call the team soft. No problem. I'm going to call Udoka out in that he has no offensive bag because this is getting to the point where it's ridiculous. We saw this when he was the coach in Boston. They really had no coherent offense and an idea of really what they want to do offensively. Sure, they were good defensively. They were physical as hell. And by the way, it was the second half of the season because the first half of the season they stunk. And, you're seeing that now play out in Houston. The first couple of years, they were changing the culture. We're going to focus on defense. Great. Everybody's locked in. Boom. Last season, hey, our offense stunk. It's okay. We got KD. And now we're back to it. Part of it, I understand they lost Fred VanVleet. That's a big blow. I think all the people who were like, oh, this is a blessing in disguise for Amen Thompson. And it ended up, you know what? Like it might pay off well in the future, but it ain't going to help them now. And they were focused on the now. Right? They took way too long to move Reed Shepherd into the starting lineup. And Jared knows it. I'm not a Reed Shepherd fan, and I hate to admit when I'm like wrong, but I was wrong on this. This is a dude should have been in the starting lineup, but Ime's so focused on freaking defense and so locked in on just defense that he didn't want to play the guy because he was worried about him. We have clutch games that they don't go to him. And they go, defense focused. And I'm like, what are you doing, man? Like, KD's getting doubled every time he gets the ball. Like, it's not even they don't care about the other guys. Like, what are you doing? And I just think his coaching on that side of the floor is so frustrating. And I have to be frustrated with him the same way I'm frustrated with Jamal Mosley in Orlando. And the way I get frustrated with players that are one-sided. Like, this is this as a coach should be embarrassing. And he can call out the team all he wants about being soft. He's also part of the problem.
I think on Shepherd, moving him into the starting lineup, like you said, took way too long. He was just so unforgiving of his defensive mistakes in a way that he's not of anybody else's mistakes on either side of the floor. And it took away from what they need offensively. And the way they use Shepherd offensively too just is not creative enough. Like, why doesn't this guy set more ball screens for KD or set more ball screens for Amen Thompson? Con Knipple leads the league in ball screens set by guards this year. Shepherd is a great shooter. Why is he not setting a ton of screens just like Knipple does in Charlotte? And then just systematically, offensively, there's not a lot there. Like you said, there's no bag. And the whole offense is built out of we have to truck you for offensive rebounds, which have come way down, obviously, since Steven Adams has been out. I saw Matt Moore wrote something the other day. If you separate out offensive rebounds as distinct possessions instead of part of the same possession, they go from 9th in offensive rating on the season at cleaning the glass to 23rd. That's a massive difference.
Yeah.
But you're off, the whole thing too, and I'm sorry, Wes, I just want to jump it because the offensive rebound was going to be my next point. Was you can't create your offense can't be based on we're going to miss so many shots that we're going to get all the offensive rebounds. And then that's not how you build it. It's not. It can't be your foundation.
I joked in the playoffs last year. Houston's best offense is missing shots. I mean, that was the line, and it's a real blight to you as a coach when JJ Redick or whoever the coach is, but in this instance, in those Lakers games, it was Redick just being like, I'm not even going to mess around with, I'm not even going to try to hide how we're going to double Durant. Once you cross half court, we're just going to send a naked double at him. Like, we're not going to do any, like you hear people talking about, oh, you got to keep these players on their toes. You can't show them the same look twice, all these things. You hear about with Jokic all the time. We're going to double him when Jokic turns his back. That's how we're going to do it. We're going to get cute with it. We're going to try to mix it up with them. Against the Rockets, there's no mixing. You don't need to mix it up. It's just like, hey, we're just going to double your best player. Figure that out. And Ime Udoka couldn't figure it out in the moment. To your point, like, you can't like have Reed Shepherd set a screen for you. You can't have they kept helping off of Tari Eason because he was still in the closing lineup at that point. And Tari Eason's just right there next to, above the break, next to Durant. It's like, have a shooter there that they can't help off of. This is obvious. Tari Eason hasn't hit a three-pointer since November. Like, what are we doing here? And then, so it takes them an entire fourth quarter to not figure that out, another game to not figure that out. And then finally, they put Reed Shepherd in the starting lineup, and then they're still not running these other actions when teams are still doubling Durant. And at the end of these games, it's still just give the ball Durant and let him heave. And I think that if we're going to zoom out here for a second, if I'm a Houston Rockets fan, the part that worries me is, hey, that guy that everybody said was going to win most improved, Amen Thompson, has not been most improved. Alperen Şengün, I know he was an all-star this year. He has taken a step back. He is not necessarily, or at least plateaued. Step back might be harsh, but defensively, he's been a mess for a long time, and he was a real mess at the end of that Chicago game. I do wonder if some of this, and this is not on Kevin Durant so much as the way that they deploy Kevin Durant. Like, after trading for Kevin Durant, did that stall out the development of these players? Because all of a sudden it's just, when in doubt, give the ball to him. And now Amen Thompson isn't growing in that role. Alperen Şengün isn't growing in that role. If Alperen Şengün doesn't have the ball and isn't doing stuff offensively, and he is such a minus defensively, he was the reason they lost that Bulls game at the end of that game. And so I just wonder if this is like not just bad right now, but bad long term for the Houston Rockets, in other words.
I would say two things. So first, I would say one of the things that we said about them last year was they needed a guy where you could just give him the ball and tell him to go to work because they didn't have any individual shot creation in the half court. They got that guy, the perfect guy for it, but now they don't have anything else. They don't do anything else other than just KD go do something, or Şengün go do something, or Amen try to eat up all the space in front of you and go to the basket by yourself with no help. That's not good. And I would push back a little bit. Like, Amen's not the most improved player in the league, but he is better than he was last year.
Yeah, I don't want to. I agree with you. Like, he's not the most improved, but he is, and he is better. He's improved, even as a playmaker.
Yeah,
but it's not to the point of like you need a championship level guy, right? Like, your team's the win now team, right? Plain and simple. When you have KD and the stuff you gave up in the trade, it's win now. And I feel bad when we talked about the Phoenix-Denver game. We didn't talk about Phoenix at all. Jalen Green's playing really well for Phoenix, right? Not saying he would have done that in Houston, but you're seeing some stuff kind of pop off with the way he's playing and some pop that he has. But ultimately, like, the Fred VanVleet loss was huge. Steven Adams loss was huge. I just don't look at this team of going like, you have a piece like KD and you don't work him into it. I'm not too worried about the development of the other guys because I think Jabari Smith got better. I think he's improved playing with KD. We're understanding the way KD plays. I think he's gotten better. He's never going to reach the potential and the dreams that I have hoped for him because I was very high on what I thought he could be. I don't think he'll ever get to those levels, but like, he's gotten better. All these guys have improved playing with Kevin Durant. But the way they deploy KD, they are not maximizing it. It's almost just like, here, go figure it out, is your offense. And that's just not fair to these dudes. And I think that's the other problem. And the last thing we got to talk about with them, man, the team dynamic sucks when you watch them. there is no juice with them. And it's like, and it starts honestly, and I'm going at Udoka because it starts with him too. Like there's a clip, it was the Denver game a few weeks ago where I think Jabari Smith got beat to a loose ball and it led to a fast break and Christian Brown had a layup on the other end. They call a timeout. And I love the shots. I love the replays of like, the coach when he's coming out of a time or when he's calls the timeout or he is giving Jabari Smith the death stare. He might have said something or two. Like this whole thing of like, he's so tough and he talks all this stuff. And everybody thought it was so great when he called LeBron a bitch and all of that stuff, like, or complaining like a bitch or whatever he said. It's like at this point too, it's like, but none of this is helping your team.
Right.
Your team's like general, like just the vibes are so bad. The KD burner thing, true or not, didn't help. Like all this stuff is just bad. The vibes around this team just suck. And I think it really does start with Udoka. And I'm not trying. I think he's a good coach. I think he needs way more work on the offensive end. I'm not saying they should fire him, but he's got to start changing his approach to some degree.
I agree. The injuries can only be so much of the story. At some point, you got to make an adjustment. Everybody deals with injuries, and so I don't want to hear it out of Houston where it's like, well, we lost Steven Adams and Fred. Like every team is losing guys. Every team's missing guys. The coach's job is to figure it out. That's literally your job because you can't go out there and score yourself. That's the job. Last thing here before we get to our big announcement, Shams reported this morning that the NBA's Board of Governors has voted in favor of taking bids for expansion teams exclusively in Las Vegas and Seattle. Both teams could be added as soon as the 2028-2029 season. I haven't done a ton on expansion here at RealGM. I don't know if you guys have talked a lot about it over at Double Dribble, but what do we think about expansion, Jared?
We talked about it last week. I'm pro expansion. I think it's fun. I think that the draft in particular is going to be fun for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
The TV event and all the strategy that goes on around it and what the two teams decide to prioritize when it comes to whether it's immediate competition or young players and the long-term vision. I think that Seattle getting a team is good and fun. I like Vegas as an idea. I know a lot of people are not necessarily into Vegas as an idea. I'm into it. I think there's more than enough talent to do it going around the league. I think it's possible that we could discover more players are better than we thought because more players will get opportunities to take on more significant roles, not just with the two expansion teams, but with their own teams based on who leaves and goes to the new cities. I just think there are so many different benefits to it. And obviously the financial benefits to the owners make it so that it's going to happen.
Was Jonathan Kuminga 2 years too early for his trade request? Did he just need his own team in Vegas or Seattle is my immediate thought. Mo, where are you at on this?
I love it. I think Bill Simmons has described it as a money grab. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. It's a money grab, but so's owning an NBA team. So's owning any sports franchise.
Yeah.
In
what's
general,
not a money grab these days?
Your evaluation just goes up constantly with that. Seattle for sure. I'm 100% in. Seattle team nailed it. This is deserved, long deserved. I mentioned it on our podcast last week. I would love for the KD return to the Sonics for his retirement run type of deal, and just him in the green and yellow would be awesome. I'm happy for Portland, to be honest with you, for them to have a travel partner or at least one road trip that's not a 2 to 3 hour flight is a big win for them in that regard. And I think it's good for hopefully we get even a little bit of a rivalry between the two. I like Vegas. I'm kind of surprised by the number of people that are pushing back on Vegas as a city, going they don't get why the NBA is going there. I talked a little bit last week about the Lakers, it kind of being a largely Laker market. I think they will have a hard job to kind of get fans, but I think they can do it if they do it right. I think there's concerns because Utah's 90 minutes away or whatever and things like that. I'm not worried about it in that regard. And also, it's only a problem when the NBA does it, right? Nobody cared when the Raiders moved to Vegas. It wasn't why are they going to Vegas? Nobody cares when the A's are moving to to Vegas.
People in Oakland care.
The people
I was gonna say Oakland does, but I just mean in general of like,
but not enough, which is why they're moving.
but like nobody. The NHL has a team, like it's proof and concept. It has worked, and now they're like shocked the NBA wants to go there. I'm kind of surprised.
I think it's a backlash to the sports gambling thing, as if Vegas has anything to do with sports gambling anymore. Like it's so decentralized at this point that it does. People in Salt Lake City are sports gambling. It does not matter.
And then
I'm with you guys.
And then the other thing too, because everybody keeps saying like they prefer relocation, and like a lot of times people are just talking about moving Memphis to Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
Like when the Grizzlies are good, Memphis is a great NBA city. And I mean, like in terms of the fan base, they rock hard. They support the team. They go nuts. I hated playing in there when we, playoffs. I'd been there for 3 playoff series in a row for 3 years. Lost when I was with San Antonio. Miraculous comeback with the Clippers in game 1 and then win game 7. One day I'll tell you the story of the party after game 1. And then, lost the next year with the Clippers in Memphis. Like I've been there. It's rocking. And the whole thing when they had the run with Ja and going at the Warriors, I don't want to lose that. So like I kind of wince a little bit when everybody's like, I prefer relocation. I'm like, that's not really like cool.
Yeah, and I don't understand the prefer. I guess the idea is we don't dilute the league. We're just moving a team. But to me, it just comes back down to the fan bases. Like, are the people in Seattle super stoked to have their team back? Yes. Are the people in Vegas excited? This is the other thing. All of us have been to Summer League. That city loves NBA basketball. That city loves basketball. They show up for Summer League. They love the stars. They love everything. And I think Vegas is going to be a great city for basketball. They really support the Aces. Like, there's real culture there in terms of supporting sports.
I have a dumb idea.
This is the place for that.
I love dumb ideas. I love dumb ideas.
It just happened now. No thought process. Nothing whatsoever.
I would hope so.
Whatever. This is like a kind of just hit my mind, and I'm like, because like Vegas, if the team has a team, like I don't want there to be Summer League in Vegas, right? If it has an NBA team, I kind of like Summer League being in a non-NBA city.
Okay, so where are you putting it?
Nashville. Let's go, and let's see if Nashville can prove that they have. I don't know what the weather's like in Nashville in the summer.
So I was gonna say, at least it won't be like 120 degrees.
Right, I was gonna say, like it's not 1,000.
It's like a 3-hour flight for me as opposed to getting all the way to Vegas now.
And I just think I don't know. I just think that might be a fun one.
You use Summer League to suss out the next expansion cities. Like you're up for expansion. Let's see if you could support Summer League, and then if you do a good job, maybe you get a team.
Well, then you got to talk about Utah Summer League. And what is it? Orlando Summer League. One of them doesn't exist anymore.
Orlando's
out.
Anymore.
They moved. And now that we have in the Bay Area, they go between San Francisco and
California
Sacramento.
Classic or whatever
which the Heat participate in every year. They're just like, we love basketball. We're gonna fly across the country for summer. It's all right, relax. Not everything has to be Heat culture.
Everything's about Heat culture.
Before we leave, we have a major announcement.
No.
Oh, go ahead.
One other thing.
Go for it.
Because I wanted to talk about it. Because I'm full of rants today. Sorry, guys. I know we said we were going to go 45 minutes, but Jared knows I just go nuts sometimes. The cap going down $1 million is not a big deal, and the number of tweets these are from idiots, not like professional. Like the number of people who are using that to be like, "Oh, look, the NBA is losing money," all this stuff. Shut up! Shut up.
Yeah.
The cap is also not going down. It's just coming in $1 million lower than projected. It's still going up.
It's still going
yeah. Actually, that's a great. It's not as high as we thought it would be, and it's all the regional sports networks failing. Which is again, you know what's going to happen? They're going to find a way to bundle this up and add more money to the league.
Correct.
They're just going to sell the regional networks to Amazon or whatever, and that'll be the way it works.
If you have a problem with the cap going down $1 million, take it out with FanDuel Sports Network, which already was doing a terrible job broadcasting these games. I don't remember a company that did a worse job broadcasting some of these basketball games. I can't watch the Cavaliers home broadcast because the entire game they have a thing over the score that says the diff, plus or minus whatever, and I'm like, you don't think we could do math what the difference between 56 versus 50 is right now? Like you have to put the diff 6 for me.
The worst
and
part
it's there the
is
entire game.
That graphic is not the same size as the score graphic.
Right.
So it's like there's like a little bit of an edge in between the two, so it bugs me so much.
I can't watch. I
There's some
cannot
kind of
watch
stuff that
Cavaliers
only-
broadcasts.
Only true sickos like us would care or notice whatsoever.
The funniest thing was, I honestly think whoever came up with that thought they
It's
were
Dan Gilbert.
cooking. Okay, Dan Gilbert thought he was cooking.
Yeah.
And he was like, man, wait till you see this. Every team in the
All these
league,
non-billionaires are too dumb to do math.
all these broadcasts are going to follow us and copy us. We're going to lead the way with the diff. Get out of here. It's so bad.
I know a place where you could stuff that diff, and then we can move
boy.
on. All right. Anything else?
No, I'm done.
Okay,
I'm done.
good.
I'm sorry. I won't.
All right, no,
I
you
won't
got your $1
hijack
million.
you.
I got the diff out. We're good. We got it
I
all
got
out.
my Nashville Summer League
we
idea
go.
out. That one came just out of nowhere.
Yeah,
so you're welcome.
Thank you.
Commissioner, just give me the job.
I was more into it earlier in the podcast. Maybe
You
not
don't
so
want to
much.
go to Nashville? I just cut your travel time down.
That's true. Mo for commish.
I do like Vegas though. I'm a Vegas guy.
I love it. Let's put more things in Vegas, just not in July. How's that? Let's do that. Before we leave, major announcement about the future of RealGM Radio and the Double Dribble. And it's that the Double Dribble is joining RealGM Radio. You guys are joining the RealGM Radio feed. We're going to expand the show from one full-length episode, which is the show I typically do, RealGM Radio with Wes Goldberg. We're going to expand that from one full-length episode to 4 every single week. This is a huge rollout. Jared and Mo, you guys are bringing your podcast into the RealGM Radio feed. So if you're already subscribed to RealGM Radio, you're listening to this episode on that feed, you don't have to do anything. Just stick with it. This new show, The Double Dribble, will pop up in your feed twice a week. Mondays and Wednesdays is what we're planning right now. If you're listening to this episode on the Double Dribble feed, just make sure that you subscribe to the RealGM Radio feed on your podcast app to make sure that you keep getting the Double Dribble and the RealGM Radio, everything else that's on that feed. Also, make sure that you subscribe on YouTube, RealGM Radio on YouTube. All the episodes will be streamed there as well. So in addition to Double Dribble coming over, I'm going to be doing 2 full-length episodes a week now, Tuesdays and Thursdays. There's another announcement about that on the way. But this is more about you guys. Super excited to be teaming up with you guys. Both of you have been staples on RealGM Radio for a really long time. I think it's why this partnership makes a ton of sense, is because A, you guys are awesome, and B, the people who are already tuning into RealGM Radio know your voices. You guys are familiar voices. You guys are respected. And I just think everybody loves the episodes you're on. And now they just get more of that. And what's wrong with that? So really excited to have you both on. I'll hand it off to you guys now.
I'm excited too. I would say what's wrong with that is that they have to hear us and listen to us multiple times a week now instead of just one time a week.
Yeah, now we're going to talk about our dogs twice a week now on the podcast versus the other. No, we're very excited. This is awesome. And to be honest, like, this is shout out to all the people who supported the Double Dribble podcast, because it's only a year old. Not even. We're at 11 months. We started in April, I think. Jared, correct me if I'm wrong. And, and had some fun false starts in the very beginning. Thanks to yours.
Let's not talk about those.
Yours truly, but we got those out of the way, and now we're joining the RealGM family. We're excited. This is going to be a lot of fun, and hopefully everybody continues to rock with all of us.
That's right. So just as a reminder, if you're a subscriber already to RealGM Radio, don't do anything. You'll just start getting a bunch of more great content in your feed. That's all it takes. If you're subscribing and listening right now on the Double Dribble feed, make sure that you go find RealGM Radio on Apple, Spotify, whatever you use. Subscribe there, because that's how you're going to get the Double Dribble going forward. Twice a week instead of once a week. More ideas like Nashville and
Genius
dog talk and complaining about coaching. All of it. Super excited, guys. This was a great episode. Stoked to be working with you guys more going forward.
See y'all.